Right, so today we're going to be looking at even more relationship drama in the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. We've got a boyfriend who is refusing to buy any feminine products for his girlfriend because he's too embarrassed. A man who went and picked up his friend's drunk sister from the club, let her stay the night and didn't tell his wife. And then we have a woman who thinks she might have ruined her marriage because of how bad her Christmas presents were. Am I the arsehole for giving crappy Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage? I married my soon-to-be ex-husband in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. Soon-to-be ex insisted that they are just putting up a tough exterior and they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I'd made, because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. What on earth? That is a horrible thing to do. Like, this is someone that your son has brought to you and said, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with them. And they've even brought you a cake. They've made you a nice cake. I mean, maybe the cake was rubbish, we'll never know. But at least they've made a cake, and then you've just chucked it straight in the bin. That is absolutely horrible. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden the crocodile tears started. And she claimed she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. I let go too quickly and it fell to the floor. So of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that was what happened. Hang on a minute, so does the whole family just not like this woman? I mean, this is insanity. If I turned up to my fiance's house and her whole family was immediately against me and lying about chucking away the food that I just made for them, I think I'd go insane. My soon-to-be ex owned his own business and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Right, so that's where it is. They don't like this woman because they think she's a gold digger. Of course, they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown closer to his family so he had a larger support network. Against my best judgment, we did. I mean, so far, this person seems to be doing everything to kind of help their husband out. They spent both of their savings trying to keep his business alive, and now they're moving closer to his family, back to his hometown so that he can have a larger support network. Seems like we're doing a lot of stuff for this guy. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were a couple's gift, but clearly for my soon-to-be ex only. Every holiday was spent with them, monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet. So I just stopped talking when I visited. This family are horrible. And unless this soon-to-be ex-husband is completely blind and has no ears or just anything, has no sense in his brain to be able to see what's happening to his wife, then honestly, mate, halfway through the story, I'm gonna say that you're complicit. In early December, they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later, my soon-to-be ex said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, fine, we'll do our own thing instead. My soon-to-be ex sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. Oh my word. Get rid of this man. So he stands by whilst her family basically humiliates her and embarrasses her in front of everyone. They're basically all bullying her. And then she gets kicked out of the family events. And it's not even just any family event, actually. It's Christmas. It would still be absolutely horrible if it was a family day out to the park. But the fact that it's Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas Day lunch and she's been told she can't come because she ruins the family vibe, and you still want to go? Are you insane? I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. Honestly, the marriage wasn't looking good before, but if he genuinely still wanted to go, then yeah, the marriage is done. So I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for mother-in-law, the nastiest perfume I could find at the dollar store for sister-in-law. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. Honestly, I'm here for it because the way this family has treated you, they don't even deserve this. Honestly, I probably would have rocked up with no presents at all. I saved about $600 to put on a deposit for a new apartment. My husband came home from Christmas lunch telling me I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why he would think I'd buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around. Genuinely, like they just said, why would you buy nice gifts for people that don't want you there? And I don't think he can really come home and be upset that he was humiliated and embarrassed when that's what was happening to her every other time they went to a family gathering. And as long as everything in this story was true, your family was bullying her in front of you and you didn't care. So I don't care that you were embarrassed. You should be. Served divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now, so we had that prenup. Soon-to-be ex is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate accounts or alimony. He doesn't have money for rent and auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. If he's really worried about rent and auto insurance, then he can just go and ask his family. I mean, that's the whole reason you guys moved back to his hometown, no? Some of my friends and family are on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me that I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. I mean, was it petty? Yeah, I can understand why someone would call it petty, but was it deserved? 100%. I think this is the first time I've read one of these stories and properly leaned to just one side. Normally I can at least see the other point of view and be like, okay, I can kind of understand why this person acted like this. But can I understand why the in-laws were being rude and bullying her at every family occasion? Not really. Can I understand why the husband never stood up for her or did anything about his family bullying his partner? Definitely not. Just before we look at some of the responses, I want you to put down in the comments what you think about that story. If you were the wife, how would you react to bringing a cake to your in-laws as a nice gesture and then them just binning it in your face and lying to your husband saying they dropped it on the floor? And also, would you have bought them supermarket shampoo and dollar store perfume to get back at them? Because I 100% would have. Not the arsehole. He chose his family over you and still expected you to buy all the presents. This was perfectly planned and well deserved for every one of them, including him. And then the woman actually replied saying he only worked 12 hours a week at Walmart so he could do non-existent work restarting his business. I make just over 6 figures and I can't believe I didn't realize years ago I was the family ATM. So let me just get this right. He chose his family over the woman who was basically funding all of his business ideas because he was only doing part-time work at Walmart. Like, she said she was making 6 figures and you were doing part-time whilst trying to get your business going. So like I just said, she was funding the whole thing because there's no way that 12-hour-a-week wage from Walmart is going just to the business. Most people are all on the same side, saying, not the arsehole, you were treated horribly, good riddance. Not the arsehole, if you can't join in on the family vibe, might as well bring some sass and pettiness to the party. Plus, saving money for a new apartment is a solid move. You were treated horribly for years. They never made any effort to welcome you into the family and your husband never stood up for you. You tried to appease them, but it was never enough. And then someone's actually mentioned that prenup that they had to sign, saying, not the arsehole. So thoughtful of them to insist on a prenup. I hope you send them a sincere thank you note after the divorce is finalised. Because those in-laws must have been thinking, my son's going to be a millionaire in a few years, this woman's a gold digger, she's coming here to marry him and divorce after a year and take half of all of his money when he's big and famous. But the woman's replied saying, my lawyer even laughed that the prenup that was set up for him is going to be what we use for me. It required both spouses to maintain separate bank accounts and each spouse could keep 100% of their savings. No spouse eligible for alimony. So they've been played at their own game because they were thinking when they divorce, obviously he'll get to keep his millions, but in actuality, this man's now leaving with nothing but a part-time job at Walmart and she's got a new apartment and a 6-figure salary. So there's only one winner here. My boyfriend refuses to buy me female products, pads, and now I'm upset. I'll make it short and sweet. Me and my boyfriend have been dating for over 3 years. Yesterday, we had a conversation through text about him going to the supermarket to get pasta, because we were having people over and I was going to cook. Mind you, he gets out of work before me and the supermarket is 3 minutes away from home. Everything was fine until I got my period right after I was about to leave my job and go home. So I texted him to please grab some pads for me and his answer was, "I'm not doing that." Then I said, "I'm going home. They're on the personal hygiene aisle. I need them." His answer was, "So go get them." And I replied, "Aren't you going to the store?" He said, "Yeah." So I replied, "I'm telling you to please get it for me." And his answer was, "I said I'm not doing that, but you keep asking." And I ended the conversation by saying, "Okay, thanks." What a strange boy. Because I'm gonna hedge my bets and assume that this guy's embarrassed of being seen in the feminine product aisle, which is so stupid, by the way. But he's not even saying that. He's not giving any reason. He's just saying no. Like, damn, you wouldn't just pick your partner something up from the store? Like, imagine they asked for a bottle of water and you just went, "No, go get it yourself." It's not as if you're bending over backwards and driving across town to another store to go and pick something up. You literally just have to walk to the next aisle. Then he said that we shouldn't have people over tonight, which made me more upset. I ended up getting them myself while having pain and a bunch of toilet paper wrapped around myself to not make a mess. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If he feels uncomfortable, he could have said, "I'm sorry, but that makes me uncomfortable, so I won't be able to do so." And I could see it with a different perspective. I don't know if I would be able to see that with a different perspective because, like I said 2 seconds ago, to me that's just very silly. It's not like someone's going to see you with the pads and then go, "Ooh, haha, period boy, you've got the pads, look at him, he's got pads, he's going to put them on." It's very obvious that you're going to be buying them for someone, and even if you weren't, why does that matter? When you're going shopping, you're going shopping, and so is everybody else. No one's coming there to go and judge everybody for what they're buying. It's not like you leave the shop and they check your items and flash it up on a screen saying, "Look what this guy's bought." However, he is 28 and I think it's a very immature thing to be embarrassed about. And before you ask, this was my second time asking him. The first time, he got it for me, no problem. But we were living at his mum's house, which she used to do everything for him, so at this point, I think she was the one who got it. The original post ends there, but they've added some edits with a couple of anecdotes to kind of further back up some information. Huge thank you to all for the feedback. I would like to add an anecdote. 2 years and a half ago, he had a horrible accident while skiing. Fractured his right leg and dislocated his left shoulder. So he couldn't move at all, or shower, or even pee or poo. Guess who helped him with all that? Me. I would expect him to do the same for me, but not being able to do this little thing for me might honestly be a deal breaker. Call me dramatic, I don't care. If he can't even go 2 aisles over to pick up some feminine products for his girlfriend, I honestly don't know if he would have helped her had she been in this skiing accident. And there's a second edit where she confronts him. This is going to be good. We had a conversation last night, very long one, and I said everything I needed to say, including reading those text messages out loud to him, and he was in any way defensive. I think that's supposed to say he wasn't in any way defensive because the next sentence says he called himself an asshole and recognized that what he said was really fucked up. His vapes and his vape ran out, so he did warn me in the morning about nicotine withdrawal. So he said he was dealing with that all day and made him a bit irritated. Okay, fair enough, that can explain the answers, but doesn't really explain why you didn't pick them up. He said the supermarket he went to was a small Italian supermarket and they didn't have personal hygiene products. Okay, but even still, it's like, could you not just go to another shop if you're already shopping? Just make your partner's life easier. He said his mother never talked to him about this stuff. He had a past relationship, but it was a short one, and he said that he was never asked to get this before. He said, "I didn't know it was an emergency, otherwise I would have got it for you with no hesitation." So he would have got it if it was an emergency, but not just normally? That doesn't make sense. Also, I don't think that your partner should have to tell you it's an emergency for you to pick something up from a shop when you're already shopping. Fair enough, it's not what I was saying earlier when I said that he just has to go to the next aisle, but realistically, he just had to walk to another shop or like drive down the road to another shop. He also admitted that it is not that he is embarrassed, he just feels social anxiety. Then I explained that there's a self-checkout. He said that last time I asked him to get me pads, he was at BJ's, and even though it was his first time, I sent him pictures of what I needed. He felt anxious, but since I said it was an emergency, he got it anyway. So he's really hanging on to this kind of like thing about it being an emergency. I don't know, I still feel weird about it. Also, I'm assuming BJ's is a shop and not the other meaning of the word. And then we have a little bit of background information. He doesn't have sisters. For the first 2 years, including a break of 8 months, he was living at his mum's house. Fast forward, I ended up moving there as well, and it was great for like 1 month, but then things changed and I ended up moving out with a few cousins. Then a month later, he leaves his mum's house and moves in with me and cousins. Everything goes well and we are looking to move out, just the two of us. We finally moved out December 28th and we have been living together for only a month. So for those telling me to break up, yes, I told him to break up. Fair enough. Straight to the point, get out. However, here's my situation now. I do not have close family here, but I have friends that offered me to stay in their living room. I already gave him the money for rent. He begged me to please stay and to work things out since we just moved in together and is what the both of us wanted. I have a full-time job, but really not enough savings to rent by myself again because rent is expensive and they want 3 months in advance. He helps me around the house with cleaning and cooking, so I don't do everything myself. He said that he would not put me in a position where I will be struggling because of his actions. He would rather sleep on the couch than me leaving. He said he would work on himself and we can take a break if I want to because he respects my boundaries, but he asks me please not to leave. However, he understands that if I leave, I'm not coming back. Okay, so I definitely think that it's very silly that this guy won't just go and buy some pads for his girlfriend. If they're your girlfriend and eventually they're going to be your wife, you're going to spend your life together, you know, like 60, 70 years. That's a lot of times where she's going to need pads. So eventually, mate, you're going to have to buy them. But she did say it's only the second time she's ever asked him. And then he said he has social anxiety, but he's willing to work on himself. I'm going to be leaning on the side of the girl here and thinking that, yeah, he definitely should have just been able to buy them. I don't think he should have been embarrassed buying pads. But I don't quite think that it's worth breaking up over, unless there's other things going on. But if it's just this situation, then no, I don't think you should break up over this. At least, you know, try and buy pads next month. And like always, we're going to take a look at some responses now, but just quickly put down what you think about this situation. Do you think it's strange that he didn't want to go get them, or do you kind of understand his situation? I've been with my boyfriend for 6 months when I asked him to please buy some tampons for me on his way to my apartment. He called 20 minutes later in a panic saying, why are there so many? What can be so different and why are they so expensive? Did you know they were that expensive? I'm going to FaceTime so you can tell me what flavor to get. That is very funny because I think I was in the exact same situation with my fiance. Like, damn, I didn't realize there could be so many different variations. You got nighttime, you got daytime, you got one specifically for sleeping, one for running around. You got big ones, you got small ones, you got apple ones, you got strawberry ones. Am I the asshole for picking my friend's drunk sister up from a nightclub, letting her stay over and not informing my wife straight away? I have a friend, Matt, and we've been friends since we met at uni. We no longer live in the same place but talk regularly and meet up when we can. Matt's younger sister, Emily, goes to uni in my city. Matt and Emily are really close and I've gotten to know her over the years. She's like a sister to me at this point. When she moved here for uni, Matt asked if I would look out for her and I agreed, as I know how much she means to him. My wife, Jodie, doesn't like Emily. She never has done. She used to kick up a fuss if Emily joined Matt and I at a concert, but Jodie would never come herself as she doesn't like the same type of music, yet expects me to come with her to a concert of someone she likes even if I don't like the music. Okay, I'm getting a couple strange vibes here. So my camera just died, so for me it's actually the next day, but let's carry on. Jodie is currently away on a girls' trip with her sister and friends. Since she's been away, she's been monitoring our cameras and tracking my location as she's been worried that I would use this time to cheat on her. I wouldn't. I only know this because she called to have a go at me for getting food delivered 2 days in a row as she had seen on the doorbell camera. I reassured her that I wasn't cheating or doing anything that she wouldn't do, I was just knackered from work and didn't fancy cooking. I thought this was the end of it until Sunday morning when I got abusive messages from Jodie, her sister and their friends because they had seen me bring a drunk Emily home on the doorbell camera. This is where it's going to get sketchy. Emily had been out drinking with her student friends. She'd gotten drunk and was a complete mess. She'd called me from the nightclub toilets crying, saying that she didn't feel right and her friends had left, then asked if I would come and get her. I didn't hesitate. I know it was the right thing to do. Turns out I'm also in a building site today. I didn't want to leave her on her own, the state she was in, so I took her back to mine, got some water in her before putting her in the spare bedroom. That was it. Nothing happened between us. I made her breakfast the following morning while she apologised for getting herself in such a state. She asked where Jodie was and if Jodie knew she was at the house. I told her that Jodie was away with friends and that I hadn't told Jodie yet because it was in the middle of the night when I got her, so I didn't want to disturb Jodie as she had her ringer on loud and it wakes her. Okay, this is this is now where I start to see both sides of the story here. But let's read the rest of it first and then we'll make some decisions. Jody had gone through my location history and sent screenshots of that and of the camera showing me bringing Emily home, and called me a cheater. They called me abusive, a predator. One even referred to Emily as a child. I didn't respond to their messages at this point. This one's going to be tricky because both people kind of have a point here. Like, if she's already brought up the fact that she has insecurities and there was that other issue about going to the gym that she was worried about in the past, then it might have been a good idea to kind of let her know, hey, my friend's sister is really drunk and I need to go help her out. I'm going to let her sleep in the spare bedroom. Is that okay? And yeah, she might still have her doubts and still think things are a bit strange and something's going on in that situation, but at least you told her. The fact that you didn't say anything at all and your excuse is, oh, well, your ringer was on loud and I didn't want to wake you up. You know, that it just looks bad. I took Emily home, and when I returned home, I had another message from Jody telling me to stop ignoring me. Oh, and also ignoring all of those texts, even as bad as they were, it kind of just makes you look even more guilty. Which was quickly followed by another screenshot, which was a message she sent to Matt calling Emily a whore, followed by the screenshots from the camera of me bringing her home. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely uncalled for. Jody is clearly very upset and going through it in this situation, but there is absolutely no need for that. If she had Emily's number, I imagine Jody would have just harassed her too. When I did call Jody, it was just her screaming at me, asking how I could cheat on her with Emily and how she knew it was going to happen. I told Jody that Emily had called me because she was drunk and asked if I would go and get her, which is what I did. I chose not to leave her on her own due to the state she was in. I reinforced to her that Emily was like a sister to me at this point because I've known her since she was a child. I don't see Emily in any way other than being Matt's little sister. I look at her and see the little kid we took to download one summer because she was desperate to go and see one of the bands playing. Jody kept insisting I was lying and that I saw Emily as attractive because I'd take her to the gym, as apparently guys only do that if they want to f the women they're with. I told her that I took Emily to the gym because it made her feel more comfortable, especially with her trying to build up some strength, as she didn't have gym bros coming up to her making her feel self-conscious about her size. The argument ended with Jody declaring we are getting divorced before she hung up. She's since shared the pictures in my family group chat accusing me of cheating. This is scorched earth at this point. Jody has clearly made up her mind and she's burning everything to the ground. Which I will now make a point that is completely unfounded, but if she's willing to go to this extent, then that kind of leads me to believe that maybe something else happened in the past. But like I said, completely unfounded, and I have no idea if that's true. Matt messaged me after Jody's message asking what Jody's been using because he knew nothing was going on between Emily and me. I've not told Emily about this backlash. I don't want to set her off in a downward spiral. However, as most people in my life seem to think I'm an asshole for not saying anything to Jody, and in some cases just for being in contact with Emily, I thought I would come to Reddit for advice. Right. There is a lot to unpack here. Firstly, I don't think there's anything wrong with him being in contact with his mate's sister. If what he said is true and he's not just lying to cover it up, and he genuinely does see her as his own little sister because it is his friend's little sister, like he sees her as family, then I completely understand the idea of if she's come to uni in your city and her brother's not there, then yeah, you would look out for her. I'm sure her brother would even tell him, hey, can you watch out for my sister, and if she needs anything, help her out. And then again, in the nightclub situation where she's called you and she's drunk, whatever, and she needs help, then yes, of course, go and help her. I think that's also the right thing to do. Where I think he's messed up massively is not letting his wife know that he was going to do this. His reason that he gave for not wanting to tell his wife before he went was because he was in a rush and he knew that his wife had the ringer on her phone, so it would have woke her up if he had messaged her or called her. Which I don't really think is a great excuse, because then if she had woke up, she could give her opinion on how she felt about the situation before he'd even gone. Like, this whole situation could have gone completely differently if he'd just picked up the phone, phoned his wife and said, hey, my friend's sister is absolutely blackout drunk in a nightclub and I'm the only one that can go and help her. Opinions might split a little bit about whether or not he should have brought her back to his house versus, you know, try and take her back to her home or wherever she lives. On that point, I would say that I understand why he would bring her back to his house if she lived on her own or there was no one to look after her. Because there's levels to the amount of drunk you can get where he might have just dropped her home and then she would have just lay down on the floor at her doorstep and fell asleep. But mate, you really should have just dropped dropped her a message, especially if she'd already told you in the past that she was worried about these type of things. She's away on vacation with her friends and she's checking through your location history like you say, and she's watching the doorbell camera to see what's going on. She's even highlighted to you again that she's worried that you might use this time to cheat on her. If your wife has said that to you, then something should go off in your head saying, okay, I'm bringing back my friend's sister to my house, maybe I should let my wife know. One point on her side is that I do understand the amount of turmoil that she must have gone through if she was already worried that her husband might cheat on her, and then she's gone to check the cameras and the location history and literally watched him bring a girl back. Like, if you've already thought that your husband might cheat on you, and then you've seen a situation which really to you looks like cheating, and you have no context for it because he hasn't texted you and let you know any other sort of details, then of course your brain's going to link those two and say, wow, my husband's actually just cheated on me. And that sort of thing can really stop you from thinking straight at all. So I can see why she went completely scorched earth and just burnt everything down. If what he said is true, then he made a massive mistake and he has a lot to do to make up for it. Like, texting the friend and saying that his sister is a whore is absolutely mental. And then sending all the screenshots to the family group chat as well is insane. But to be fair, if this was a situation where he had actually cheated, then we would think what she did was completely normal and fine. So, you know, that's how I see it. And like always, just before we read the reactions, I want you guys to put down what you think about this story. Who do you think was in the right? Do you think the guy was completely fine with everything he did? Do you think Jodie was completely out of proportion? Or do you think the wife was in the right to react how she did to this situation? Or do you think that everybody sucks? Because that's how I think I'm leaning. Probably would have been best to send a text before you left, letting her know that you were going to pick Emily up. Did something happen to cause your wife to be so insecure and untrusting? If she's always been like that, it might be best to see a marriage counselor before jumping to a divorce. That's one of the things that I was thinking. Like, there feels like there's details to this story missing, and if it genuinely is that his wife just feels insecure about things, then that's something that you should, you know, be trying to help her through. And perhaps going to see a marriage counselor before jumping to this divorce would be a really good idea. Somebody replied saying, everything you said, but also why didn't he drop her at her own place? Help her inside. Why did she have to go to his place knowing his girlfriend felt uncomfortable with the relationship? She shouldn't be this insecure and untrusting, but he is clearly brushing off her concerns and I'm sure it's upsetting her. She's clearly having a spiral over this and needs to talk to someone. Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. Like I said, there might have been some situational factors that meant that it was best for her to come back to his place so he could look after her properly. But again, it's just another thing that will ring alarm bells in his wife's insecurities. And yeah, from what I've read, he really does seem like he's just completely brushing things off. Like the gym situation, he kind of didn't really seem to care about his wife's opinion there. And then during this vacation, his wife's already made it clear that she feels worried about him using this time to cheat. And he said that he knew his wife was looking at his location and watching the cameras. So to me at least, it's obvious that he knows his wife has these insecurities and is very clearly worried about it, but like they said, it seems like he's just brushing everything off. Oh, here we go actually. Someone's asked for some more information. They said, does Jodie have a reason to suspect you would cheat on her? In brackets, with anyone. Because her jealousy seems so out there. Did she ever act like this before you got married? And if so, why marry someone who obviously doesn't trust you? And the husband actually replied saying, Jodie's been cheated on in the past. She was also raised by a single mum who was jaded when it came to men. When Jodie and I first got together, her mum kept telling Jodie it was a matter of time before I cheated on her. I didn't notice it at first, but it has definitely gotten worse over the years. Right. Okay then. Each new piece of information about this situation is moving me from everyone sucks to this guy's an asshole. So we've got everything I said 2 minutes ago, and we're gonna now add that to the fact that he knows she has a history with being cheated on. And even more so, her mum has a history of being cheated on. This woman has grown up, and all she has ever seen is women get cheated on. So knowing this about your wife, you decided to keep secrets from her and about a much younger woman she is already suspicious about. Does that seem like a good idea in hindsight? Also, from the outside looking in, it does seem super weird for a married man to take a 20-year-old to the gym to work out with him, especially without his wife knowing about it. This alone is a form of cheating because you did it behind your wife's back and intentionally kept it from her. At the risk of repeating myself, it does seem really weird that he knows all this information about his wife and still acts the way that he does. And that gym situation seems weirder the more I think about it. I think I missed the part where it said about how he didn't tell his wife about it, but that again is just, it's just so stupid, because it's obvious you know about your wife's trauma, but everything you're doing is triggering it. You're not doing anything to kind of stop that from happening. And again, this is just my opinion, but it does feel like there might be more to this story because he is so heavily valuing Emily's feelings over his wife's. Like, fair enough, you might see her as your younger sister, but if you have married this woman, then she should be at the top of your priorities, not Emily. Quite a lot of people have the same opinion that helping Emily out was a good thing to do, but he definitely should have told his wife. And there's also a lot of people asking that same question of, is there something more going on here, because it doesn't seem like this is the full story. But I'll just read one more opinion from both sides. So this is a person that thinks the wife is in the wrong, and they've said, dude, when someone who's away with their friends screams at you for having food delivered to your own house, you can safely put anything else they do or say in the crazy like a mongoose on crack bucket. She's just unhinged. Gratefully, nay, gleefully, take the divorce. I don't even care if you slipped Emily one. Your wife's behavior is so demented that this marriage failed long before you left the house to pick Emily up. Somebody replied saying all of this. These commenters claiming he's the arsehole clearly skipped past the part where she's monitoring his eating habits. Then someone countered, her comment about food delivery could have been more about finances than eating habits. And then that person came back saying, doesn't matter. Spying on your partner and flying off the handle about food delivery like that when she's clearly spending money on a girls' trip is controlling and unhinged. At least from my perspective, I don't think she was monitoring his eating habits. More so, it was the insecurities of feeling like she might be getting cheated on and then seeing him ordering a lot of food to the house as if he's kind of, you know, like whining and dining someone. So I think it was more her thinking that he was buying food for another woman and not really her being like, oh hey, you're eating junk food. And then this person had some advice for married men. Dear married men, if you are asked by a lady for help and it is not an immediate action needed emergency, i.e. I do not have 30 seconds to call my wife because someone is about to die, help them, but call your wife ASA mother P to nip BS like this in the bud. If you don't, you are almost literally asking for trouble. For helping the girl feel/be safe, not the arsehole, never the arsehole. For not immediately telling your wife, you're the arsehole for sure. It looks sketchy as hence her reaction. But then they go on to say, for marrying someone who won't give you the benefit of the doubt, even though you did in fact up because she doesn't trust you, I'll let you decide, my man. I don't know what you've done in the past for her to not trust you at all, or maybe she is just really immature. Not enough info. In the end, you may be better off if she just doesn't respect or trust you. And then if we pair that with the context of obviously knowing that she's had this cheating stuff going on in her life for a very long time, then it really does make sense why somebody like that would react like this in this situation, because like this guy said, it looks sketchy as Now that we've heard what everybody else has had to say, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below, especially with that added piece of extra context that we didn't get in the original post, because it definitely changed my opinion on the story. Originally, I thought everybody was the arsehole, but now I kind of think it's just the guy. So let me know down in the comments if it changed your mind on how you thought about things, and also about the other two stories, which, to break the movie magic a little bit, was actually recorded a couple days ago, so I've kind of forgot what happened. Oh wait, yes, we had the boyfriend that didn't want to buy any feminine products for his girlfriend. That one was actually insane. I can't believe that's a real story. And then we had the absolute pettiness of the woman buying really, really bad shampoo to get back at her in-laws for bullying her for years. So make sure you put your opinions about all three of those stories down in the comments, and I'll reply to as many as I can. And whilst you're down there, if you could hit the like button and subscribe so we can see each other in the next video. But as always, if I don't see ya, see ya.